Hi, this is David Grunfeld coming to you from Dubai,
And hi, it's Mark Hayes from North America.
and this is Elevating IR, a global perspective. Companies are entering their Q4 earnings season. So, with all the innovation and investment that's going on around AI across many, if not all, companies that you're working with. So, how should these companies and IR teams be looking at positioning the ROI of their AI investments?
Mhm. Thank you, David. It's an important question. We're calling this quarter the quarter of the receipts. And really, where investors are pivoting from a capacity build to what's the practical benefit of the investment in AI. Before public companies get there, we've actually developed a four-stage model. The first stage is to reinforce capital allocation discipline, that we're not building capacity, we're building a path to value creation. That's clearly number one. Number two is to articulate where you are in the J curve. And what the J curve is intended to articulate to investors is that AI investment and return on that investment is not linear. The intent is to invest early, embedded in workflows, and scale to monetize. In explaining that to investors, what's most important is really two things: providing leading indicators of the emerging investment and return in AI. And the second is a financial model in terms of where they're going to see that. Very specifically, as it relates to the quarter, there are two areas that investors are looking for public companies to really articulate. The first is return on investment in the context of expense efficiency. And the second is return on investment in the context of revenue productivity. As it relates to expense efficiency, what we're increasingly seeing is that companies who are articulating the durable value of AI in margin expansion are seeing a valuation improvement. So for our clients, we're recommending to really lean into that durable nature. An example of that would be we are not experiencing a one-time benefit in the fourth quarter of 2025 for our AI deployment. We see a structural change in our expense base that represents 100 to 200 basis points over the next 3 to 5 years, and it's structural. As it relates to revenue, that's a little bit harder to model for public companies, and so it may seem a little squishier to investors. What's most important is that it's either a top-line benefit or a price mix change. But that's where your valuation lift is really going to come, where you can isolate the benefit of AI and somebody's going to put that into future free cash flow. So if the organization needs to spend a little more time really focusing on the direct revenue benefit of AI and articulating that in the context of their overall outlook, that's important. Pivoting to the future, the final comment that is critically important for public companies is what's called Jevons paradox. And Jevon was a 19th century economist who essentially uncovered that when coal was being used, more people used coal and it became cheaper. We are reaching that point with AI. And so in the future, what we don't want public companies to do is surprise investors by saying, oh, my investment in AI is now going from a billion to 2 billion. Why would that be happening? That would be happening because as the cost of AI goes down, your capital allocation model and discipline doesn't change. You just have more use cases. So a good example of that would be if a use case was $1 million investment in AI that had a return below the hurdle rate in 2024, in 2026, if that AI investment is now 500,000 or 350,000, that investment actually becomes much more attractive. So you're going to spend more. So I think the important message for investors is going to be let's make sure they understand that the cost of AI is coming down. As a result, we're likely to use more of it, and public companies are using AI as a profit lever. So we're not bringing more capacity online. What we're doing is bringing more capacity online that has a direct path to value creation. And then finally, I think in February, DeepSeek is coming out with an update on their work. And I think we'll see a reinforcement that it's becoming cheaper. There's a forecast for increasing reduction in cost. And as a result, investors should expect companies to invest more when the cost to bring AI online is more attractive from an overall value creation perspective. It's going to be a really interesting 2026.
It's very interesting and very timely. All of our clients and yours are thinking this through. I think from what I'm interested in is there's a huge discrepancy among companies on where they are in their AI journey. Some are much more advanced and sophisticated, and others are still trying to find the right use cases, whether it's on reducing expenses, as you said, so for more efficiency and productivity, and others are finding actual kind of use revenue generating use cases, but I think there are fewer of those around. So, I wonder, when you see this variability across your clients, it can't be a one size fits all kind of approach. How do you approach that and understand and support companies at different stages of their journey?
Mhm. I think what's most important is that there isn't an AI strategy, there's a business strategy, and AI enables that. So, to your point, different companies are deploying different business strategies in the marketplace, and those strategies need different AI enablement. And based on those enablement needs, they may or may not clear the hurdle rate for effective capital allocation. So, my sense in 2026 and 2027 is that as the cost of AI investment comes down, the number of use cases where AI can be deployed in workflows is going to accelerate meaningfully. And as a result, we're going to have two things. The investment in AI will go up as the number of use cases that are profitable goes up, and that we're going to begin to see the scale effects that are monetizable for many other public companies. So I think it's that Jevons paradox idea that as the cost to actually invest meaningfully in AI goes down, that will bring more people in whose companies may at this time may not actually find that to be as profitable at current costs. The other thing that I would say, and this is from my days involved with enterprise architecture with the Fortune 50, there are likely to be a number of structural limitations for the full scale deployment of AI that are based on legacy technology platforms and the interrelationship of AI and cyber, which I think is largely untold story that in many cases, I think that companies are not restrained by their interest or ability to invest. They're restrained because they actually have legacy technology infrastructures that have not been modernized to be able to leverage AI at scale and then have the right ROI on that basis.
Think you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody's looking for uh, the use cases that are going to generate, value in the short term, but these things take time. I mean, cloud took decades to kind of be deployed across big companies, and AI will take time too. Although I think the cycle is going to be faster than that. But I genuinely hope that in 2026 we see AI not just as an excuse for cost cutting and headcount cutting, but which is kind of low hanging fruit in terms of showing some ROI. But ultimately, I think that's the wrong approach for companies to take in many cases. And it's really about leveraging this once in a generation technology to add value to the company and to the business and for investors as well. So that's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on as well.
It's an interesting trend because you actually in 26, I think to your point, for certain companies, what you actually are going to have is the intersection of robotics, AI, and culture. And I think one of the big questions that we're going to need to wrestle with is how do investors price the intangible value of culture when AI has the potential for job displacement, robotics have the potential for job displacement, and how do you transition through being an ongoing investable vehicle with those forces acting on the culture?
Yeah. Do you invest further in your workforce to bring them with you, or do you leave them behind and take the risk that you're going to be caught short, as you said, in terms of culture, in terms of manpower and expertise? So yeah, this is a big topic, but how companies and IR teams communicate that to their investors and to the market, I think is going to be a critical topic moving forward. So thanks for sharing your thoughts.